or they want to tell people what's going on in their country. And then there are 50 other people paid by the Russian government to go make other blogs saying, oh, that's not true, it's actually like this. So if you're trying to read the internet from Russia, you can read everything, but you've got no idea who's who and what they're saying and so on. China has their own version of this called the 50-cent party, where they're paid 0.5 Chinese currency units for every post that they make, talking about how great China is and how these people aren't really that unhappy with their country, and come on, it's all going fine, and I just bought my third television, so why are you people so upset? So part of the challenge here is that there are so many different ways to filter the internet, to block things, and different countries are starting with different tricks. I was talking to a fellow from China recently, and China now uses all of these. They're buying their own DPI boxes, and they've got the 50-cent party and so on. So a lot of these tricks are spreading from one place to another. So what else are we up against? Long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, pretty much all of these firewalls were stateless. In Smart Filter's case, they look at what website you're going to, what URL, and they decide right then, can you get there or not? In the case of the Chinese firewall, they look at each packet as it goes by. And if that packet convinces them that you should stop talking, then they kill your connection. But they don't remember things. They don't build a profile and start doing statistics or glue the packets back together like firewalls have to do. They were stateless. These days, everybody's buying fancier hardware. And so the challenge is getting a lot more on the DPI level. So we need to there's still differences between some countries and the other countries. For example, in Iran, sometimes they turn off the internet, but sometimes they leave it on. They have a little knob, basically, and when they get anxious or some political thing's going to happen, they turn the knob and the internet goes away. And they've been working on getting a better knob lately, so they can turn the SSL knob without turning the whole internet knob. And that means that you can still browse the web, but you can't use SSL, so they get to watch everything you're doing. So China can't afford to do that. They can't turn their internet off. There are too many people in China who are using it for too many different things. And they also can't afford to turn SSL off. There's a lot of industry, economics, business that's using encryption and wanting to be safe on the net. So China walks a lot finer of a line than we realize, where they can't make too many people angry. Right now, the reason why these people are in charge is because most of the people in their country are saying, oh, it's not that bad. And if they do too much, then too many people are going to get upset. And contrast this with Burma, where step one of the coup is turn off that internet thing because I don't like it. And it's pretty much still off at this point. So there's a spectrum of different approaches that countries are able to take in terms of how much they can turn things off. And Iran is a weird situation. It's in the middle where the government thinks that it can turn the internet off, and it's got the technical capability to. But there are a lot of really angry people in Iran when that happens. And every time they do it, there are a lot more really angry people in Iran. So it's only a matter of time until something happens there. One of the other key points, a lot of these filtering techniques, it's not like China is inventing new things and then going to talk to the people in Iran or Burma or whatever. Cisco is inventing new things. And then China pays Cisco to invent a new product, and then once China has invested and Cisco has built the product, then Cisco goes to Iran and says, we've got this fantastic product, would you like to buy it? And it's not just Cisco, it's Fortinet and whatever secure computing is doing next, and the list goes on of American and Western corporations that are building the technology to censor people around the world. That sucks. So one of the questions, one of the things we need to brainstorm is most of these companies are selling these products to other Western corporations to prevent their employees from watching happytreefriends.com or whatever during their lunch hour. They don't make that much money from Iran. How do we make it so that the products that they're selling make most of their customers happy, and then they're done? Right now, the problem is it's exactly the same product that Boeing wants to oppress its employees as Iran wants to oppress its citizens. How do we make it so that Boeing ends up happy and Iran doesn't get the products they want? I don't know the answer to that. And with that, I'm going to skip to a 5-minute discussion from Jake of what he's been up to lately, and then we'll go back to some other things. Is my goon here with a microphone? Perfect.
Hi. Hello?
Does it work?
Yeah? Hi. I'm Jake, and I work on the Tor project. I just came back from a month traveling in the Middle East, where I was in Lebanon, Qatar, Egypt, and Jordan. And it was a really interesting experience, and I think that probably the most interesting thing is that I realized what the future of the West looks like by going to the Middle East. I mean, like, you can laugh at this, but it's actually quite scary. Someone wrote me an email, I think you're in the audience probably, but I don't know what you look like, that basically said that there's a country in the Middle East soon that will be recording all of the YouTube videos that this country basically will request. So every user in the country that watches YouTube, the full TCP connection will be logged and sent to the state for review. And they have mandatory data retention in this country. So that means that forever, every YouTube video you ever watch will be tied to your permanent record. Right? And it's built, that's, I think, a product built here in Germany, by the way. So a little national pride is in order for that. So this is very scary, but I mean, it's Nokia that is doing this, it's Cisco that's doing this, it's Alcatel that's doing this. It's not just unique to Germany. But you see, in places like Egypt, I met some relay operators. There's someone that runs a Tor relay there, and what he faces is that they have mandatory data retention there as well. So he is potentially risking his life by running a Tor relay, I think. We need more people in the West who have great freedom and that have essentially a great amount of resource available to them. So like if you have an internet connection and it's not running a Tor server, you can really make a difference directly. Because some of these people, they are risking their life to be a part of this because they believe it. And they're in the extreme minority in the place in which they are. And I mean, without mutual aid between people in different countries, we really don't have much of a chance to be able to resist the data retention, the filtering, and the policing that comes later. Because ultimately what we have is a situation where the trail of data that we leave behind tells a story that is not necessarily true. And that's the really scary thing. If you visit a YouTube video because your friend sends you a link, like a mini URL link, and it's like a political video and you had no idea, and you get that sent a couple of times from different places, it makes you look perhaps more political than you actually are. And when they go to round people up, which they do in places like Iran right now, then you're fucked. And it's not funny, it's terrifying. And there are people that are being put in jail for 60 years in Iran for some of their online activities, right? So it's not a theoretical thing, it's a very practical thing. And if you do not fall directly in line with some of the state belief systems in some places, it's the end for you. And so it's very important that we organize in order to change this. And one of the things that we need to do you mind if we need to infiltrate the companies that build these systems. I just killed my career in computer security, and I'm okay with that. But what we need is if every person in this room goes and gets a job at Alcatel, at Cisco, if they go and get jobs at these filtering companies, if they go and work in the countries where this is happening and they find out how it's being installed, where it is being installed, we know what to sabotage, what to leak, and we know how to get around it, how to circumvent it, and how to beat it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Tor is a stopgap. Because the social measures that these firewalls create are hugely successful. But if we can resist them on a social level as well as a technical level, then we can win. And unfortunately, it is, I believe, an arms race where we are quickly losing everywhere, with data retention especially. So I hope that all of you will go and do something, at least running a Tor server, but hopefully infiltrating a large company and changing the world.
And you don't actually have to go get a job at these places. You might know somebody who works there. You might happen to run across a strategic document from one of them while you're surfing the web. There are a lot of organizations out there like WikiLeaks who would be happy to help coordinate